Over the last decade, I've spent literally thousands of hours inside the software that I'm going to teach you today. So I'm going to give you a crash course into all of the things that not only are going to make you a faster, more efficient editor, but are also going to keep people watching for longer. Now, this is a software that is used in Hollywood for some of the biggest blockbusters in the world, and it is also completely free for pretty much everything you could possibly need. So let's get into it. Before we dive into DaVinci, step one is obviously downloading the program. So you're going to search DaVinci Resolve in Google, and it's going to bring you to this page right here. You're going to scroll down to free download now. Click on that. DaVinci Resolve 19 is the free version, and I suggest downloading that if you're just getting started. Pretty much everything that you need is going to be in there, but there are a few features, we'll go over some later in this video, that you will need DaVinci Resolve Studio for, which you can get for, I think it's under $300 US, and I promise it will pay itself off if you decide to go that route. But for now, let's download DaVinci Resolve 19. Obviously, Mac, Windows, download what's right for you. Now, once you have that downloaded, we are going to open up DaVinci Resolve. When you open DaVinci Resolve, it's going to take you to this page here, which is going to have all of your projects listed out. For you, this will be your first project, so you're going to be hitting Untitled Project here, and it's going to go to this page. And the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to scroll all the way up, Resolve in the top. We're going to click Keyboard Customization and go to the three dots at the top right hand corner. When you click on that, you'll see a setting that says Import Preset. You're going to click that, and in the downloads for this lesson, there's a file called fyp_davinci_shortcuts. So hit Import Preset and select that file on your computer. Now, this is going to work whether you're on Mac or PC. The biggest difference is just Command on a Mac is the same as Control on a PC. Option on a Mac is the same as Alt on a PC, and Control on a Mac is the same as Command on a PC. Once you have those shortcuts imported, you're going to hit Save. For me, they're already in there, so I'm just going to hit Close, and it's very important that you do this step because we are going to be using these keyboard shortcuts throughout the tutorial. Let me give you a quick little overview of what you're looking at here. So this is the main tab that you're going to be using today. This is the Edit tab. This is where you're going to be combining all your clips and where your timeline is going to live. The other two tabs that are this one here, which is this color wheel. This, as the name suggests, is where we're going to be coloring our footage. And finally, this rocket ship down here is where you're going to be exporting the final video. So let's go back to the Edit tab here and dive right in. Step one is getting your footage from your phone or camera onto your computer. So usually I will use AirDrop to do that. If you're not using a Mac, I would also recommend using Google Drive or WeTransfer to get the footage from your phone onto your computer. We're going to be editing an ad that we shot a while ago that we call our For the Girls ad. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take all of my video clips and I'm going to just drag them into this section here. We're going to hit Change, and all of these will pop up right here. If this window isn't coming up for you, just click on Media Pool and it's going to show up right in the top left. Right now mine are in a list, but you can click this button here to turn them into icons so that you can see a bit more clearly what you're looking at. This is the fun part. So you probably went into your video shoot with a script. So you're going to pull out that script, and what we're going to do is we're just going to start to place out all of our shots. Before we start putting any of our shots into the timeline, what we're going to do, because this is a vertical video, is we're going to go to the very bottom. We're going to click on this gear right here, and we're going to hit Use Vertical Resolution. So what this does is it changes it from landscape to vertical. Super important. Hit Save. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click on the first clip that's going to be in our video. Now, this bar lets us drag around, and we're going to cut to the very beginning of the shot. For us, this is going to be right before Meg talks, and we're going to hit the letter I. What this does is it sets an endpoint for your clip, meaning that when you click I, that is where your clip is going to start. Then we're going to hit space. That's where the clip is going to end, and we're going to hit O. So to pick what part of the clip you want to use, you're going to hit I for the beginning and O for the end. That's the in point and the out point. From there, click on the image and drag it into your timeline below here. So you'll see that this drags both the video and the audio clip. If you wanted to just pull the video, you can see that there's this icon, and that would just pull the video component, and same thing with the audio. Now we're just gonna take all of our clips and we're gonna lay them out in the order that we want them. I'm just gonna save you a little bit of time, and I'm just gonna fast forward right through this. All right, now we have all of our clips laid out in the timeline in the order that they're supposed to be. And technically, you could export this and upload it, and it could be an ad. You've got the skeleton here. It's completely cohesive, but it's a little bit boring because we haven't added anything to it, and it's the longest version of the ad that it will ever be. So we need to make it more interesting by adding music, sound, and trimming it down so that there's no lulls. So here's how we're gonna do that. So you're gonna take this little icon right here, and you're going to zoom in. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull down on your audio here so that it's a bit bigger and you can see the audio track. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim the unwanted sections. So we're going to scroll over until the very end of this shot, right when it starts to wipe down. In this video, we're using a lot of whip transitions, which is when you whip the camera out of the first shot and into the second one. So what we're gonna do is as soon as you start to get a little bit of motion blur, which is when you can see that nothing is crisp here, we're gonna hit E. Now what E does is it trims the end of your clip and pulls everything to it. So I'm going to show you if I hit Command Z is going to undo what I just did. And you can see there's this little tail at the end of the clip. And when I hit E, that's just going to disappear and it's going to pull everything on the right side over to it. So now we're going to do the exact same thing on the next clip. So we're going to wait until we have that motion blur and it's just about where we want it. And we're going to hit the letter Q. What the letter Q does is it's going to be the opposite of the E, and it's going to delete the beginning of the clip. So if I hit Command Z, you can see there's this little section here that we want deleted, and we're going to hit Q, and that's just going to disappear. So now when we play this back, pretty smooth. So we're going to go through and do that exact same thing for all of these clips. This process is probably only going to take about 2 seconds off the total video, but that 2 seconds is so important to keep people engaged. Literally 1 second of dead space and people are scrolling, especially because it's an ad and people know that they're being sold. Think of it this way, people hate watching ads to begin with. So you're trying to make this as interesting as possible. And if someone feels like their time is being wasted in an ad, it's an instant scroll. So you want to make sure that you are cutting every moment of dead space. Next, what we're going to do to make this more interesting is we're going to add punch-ins. What punch-ins do is they add emphasis to a line and they just make it a little bit more impactful. So you can see there's this section here where it's a bit of a lull. What we're going to do is we're going to hit W. W is just going to make a cut right in that clip where the playhead is. And the playhead is this red bar that shows where you currently are. So when you hit W, it just makes a cut across all of the files where that red playhead is. Then we're going to play through and we're going to wait until the moment she starts talking and we're going to hit Q. Remember, Q deletes everything in front of the playhead. So now you're going to see when we hit play, that section has disappeared, but we're left with something called a jump cut. Jump cuts are when you go from a medium shot to a medium shot or a wide shot to a wide shot, and it just feels a little bit jarring. So if you watch this back, you can see it just feels a tiny bit jittery. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on the second clip, and we're gonna take this zoom right at the top of the transform tab, and we're gonna just zoom in right like that. Super subtle, but now when you watch it through, great. So that just took out a little lull and added a bit of emphasis to the line where she starts talking. So in this ad, there's a ton of movement. The camera is pretty much always moving in towards the subject. There's quick transitions that all have different outfits, different locations. So we don't need to go too crazy with the punch-ins and that type of edit because so much is happening already in camera. But punch-ins are going to be really important if you're just sitting in front of the camera like this, because you need to find ways to keep people engaged and add emphasis to points. So anytime you're sitting at a camera like this, you're going to be adding a lot more punch-ins than if you're doing this type of video. I'm going to show you another tool that you can use to add more engagement to the video. This clip here is Meg talking and it's pretty static. There's a tiny bit of movement, but it's a little bit boring. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on it and you're going to click this dynamic zoom right here, and you're going to hit swap. So what this does is it's going to make the clip zoom in automatically on your subject. So you can see that it's pushing in towards Meg. Now, what this is doing is it's simulating a camera movement. So this is going to be super valuable, especially if you're a solo creator and you're using a tripod a lot, because you want to add movement without being able to have someone actually walking the camera towards you. I'm going to really quickly show you how you can adjust this effect if you feel like it's too dramatic or not dramatic enough. So you're going to click this arrow here and go underneath transform. You're going to find dynamic zoom. So you've got the green box and the red box here. The green box is where the clip starts. The red box is where it ends. So just to show you what this is like, I'm just going to move the red box here. So this is going to be an extremely dramatic zoom in. Honestly works pretty good, but it's a little bit too much. I'm just gonna pull this up a little bit here. Once you have it exactly how you want it, make sure to click this arrow and go back to transform. And that's gonna make sure that everything sticks in there. Let's hit play and watch it one more time. At this point, we have a really rough skeleton of our video in the timeline. Most people would actually export it right there and they would be happy with their ad, but there's still a lot more that you can do to make this more interesting using audio, graphics, and captions. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to add some audio. For audio effects, we use a platform called Envato Elements, which we find has extremely high quality sound effects, but you can also use platforms like Freesound if you want a free version, or Soundly if you're willing to pay a bit and you want it to be super convenient. So since I already have all the sound effects on my computer, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a medium whoosh. I'll show you what that sounds like. And I'm going to drop that underneath my timeline. Then I'm going to zoom in. Now, every time I do a whip transition like this, I'm going to add this medium whoosh underneath. So here's what that looks like. This emphasizes the movement and makes it feel a little bit more immersive. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Option and I'm going to drag this over. If you're on Windows, I'm pretty sure that's Alt, but just refer to the lesson description and it'll be in there. So we're going to do that and drag this over every single whip transition. You're going to watch your video at this point and you're going to think about any sound that could add a little bit. This could be like dings or cartoon sound effects when graphics come up. It could be like a cash register sound if you're talking about money. It could be an audience going, "Aw," if you say something sad. This is infinite and it's just going to make your video a tiny bit more interesting. Honestly, most people aren't even going to notice that when they watch the video. It's just going to make them feel it a little bit more. So really have fun with this. Add as much as you want, but make sure that it's never distracting or competing with the voice, because the voice is always the most important thing. Number one is the script, and everything that you're doing is just there to elevate it. Next, let's talk about music. Music is so important for adding tone and energy to your video. And it's really important that you pick songs that you have the rights to. Because you're running it as an ad, you have to make sure that you are paying for the rights for the songs. So there are a ton of platforms that have music for ads, from Soundstripe to MusicBed, even Envato that I listed earlier has different usage rights for ads. What you want to do is make sure that whatever license you're buying covers what you're using it for. Sometimes it's the amount of ad spend that you're doing per month. Sometimes it's the size of your team. So just make sure whatever license you're buying is covering what you need. We use music that is super energetic and uplifting, but let's say you're a car brand or doing a sporting video. You might want it to feel more epic and use a symphony or brass. So make sure that whatever music you're finding is fitting the energy and the tone of the video. Okay, so I just dragged in our first clip. We're just gonna watch that back and see how it feels.
Excuse me, do you mind just taking a quick little video of me? Okay, it's already recording. So.
Okay, that's feeling good, but it feels like the music has to shift right there. There's a big change in energy once we go from the stranger format to an energetic spokesperson format. So what we're gonna do is, while we're holding just this audio clip, I'm gonna hit W. Now remember, W makes a cut in the clip. If you do it while you're selecting the clip, it's just going to make the cut in the single clip. If you select outside of it and hit W, it's going to make a cut in everything on the timeline. So if you're not selecting a clip, it cuts everything in the timeline. If you are selecting a clip, it cuts just that one clip. And that is W. Very important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the second half of that clip. So this is going to end right at this transition. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a more energetic song and I'm going to drop it in underneath this. So to do that, you can just take it and drag it underneath like that. Now, I already know this one is going to be way too loud, so I'm going to drop it down to -15. Let's see how that sounds.
So, you want to start getting more than 200 views on your videos, but your boomerang isn't going viral.
Great. So a lot of the time in an ad, we will change the song 5 or 6 times anytime there's a change in energy. We might even go back to a song earlier in the video if we feel like that energy has come back. So my suggestion is to find 5 or 6 songs that you feel like really embody your brand. And once you find those 5 or 6 tracks, you can start to use them consistently in all of your ads. Something I'm noticing is Meg's voice throughout this is quite quiet. So we're going to select all of the clips where she is speaking. I'm going to zoom right in and pull this down just so I can see what's going on. And I'm going to drag this up until it's larger in that bar, but it's not quite clipping. Clipping is when it's all the way to the top or bottom. This is where it's not quite at the top or bottom. Perfect. Now your ad should be feeling great. You've got the tone, you've got the vibe, you've got the music, the audio, everything is flowing the way that you want it to. So everything that we do on top of this is gravy. So the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is add graphics. Honestly, for this ad, I don't think we added any graphics at all, but I'm going to show you what I would do if we were. So you're going to be adding graphics anytime you talk about press or the number of 5-star reviews you have on Amazon, or anytime you can visually show somebody something that you're talking about. So let's just say that in this clip, Meg is talking about our product. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find a PNG of our product. I'm going to take it and I'm just going to drag it right above this clip here. Then obviously this is a little bit too big, so I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag the zoom all the way down. I'm going to position it where I want it to be. Let's say right there. And then I'm going to drag the end of it so that it only lasts during this clip. I find a really important thing to make the graphics feel good is to add a sound effect anytime they appear. So this might be a ding, this might be a pop. I'm just going to add a ding really quick. I'm going to show you one more example of how to use graphics. So I'm going to delete that and I'm going to go to this section where Meg is listing things off. So when she says, or you should have posted 2 hours later, let's see if we can find a graphic that we can put over it that's going to add a little bit of emphasis to that point. So I have this graphic here, which is going to be great. So I'm going to drag that right over top. And then I'm going to pull this all the way back. So then we're going to click on it. And this composite mode here is how you're going to make it feel more like an overlay. Usually either lighten or screen, sometimes multiply is best, but just click around to see what's going to look best for your clip. And then you can drag this opacity up and down to be where you want it. Once again, this clip is from Envato Elements, which has tons of stuff like this. I'm gonna right click on the left side of this and I'm gonna go add 6-frame cross dissolve. What this does is it makes it a smooth transition in rather than a hard cut. And this is something you can use on any of your graphics if you want it to feel a little bit more subtle when it comes in. And I'm also gonna do that on the end. And let's see how this feels.
You should have posted 2 hours later.
Great. Now, this adds literally just 1%. A lot of people won't even notice, but it makes it just a tiny bit more engaging. And if you do this enough times throughout the video, it adds so much more. If I wanted to take this even further, I might even add like a ticking sound when the clocks come up. But for now, this is perfect. Next, I'm going to show you how to color your video. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to this color tab right here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a little bit more space. So I'm going to click on Gallery up here, Effects. This just closes some of those windows so that I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. So if you click on this circle right here, this is going to take you to a spot where you can add color to the entire timeline all at once. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit Control S and it's going to add one of these little boxes. So we're going to go over to this circle with the dot inside of it. This is your main color tab. What we're going to do is we're going to up the saturation. Anytime you export a video, you're going to lose a lot of the saturation during the export. So we like to up our saturation until it's actually a little bit more than we like, so that when we do export it and we lose a little bit, it still stands out on social media. It starts to look bad right around 90. So I'm going to pull this back to 78. This is going to be completely different depending on your phone or what camera you're shooting on. So make sure that you do what you think is going to look best. Okay, next we're going to add a little bit of contrast, which is this one right here. This just deepens the shadows and sharpens the detail just a little bit. I think that looks great right there. If you wanted to bring up the highlights, what you can do is take this bar underneath where it says gain and just drag that up. I think this looks awesome. If you want to see a before and after, click on your node, the box in the top right here, go Command, Control if you're on Windows, Command D. And if you click that, you can see a before and after. And as you can see, you probably thought it looked pretty solid before, but once you add that, it brings so much life into this footage. Now, if you go to the dot on the left here, you can also add color to individual clips. This looks pretty good, but let's say it felt a little bit dark to me. What I can do is I can take this bar underneath gamma, which is kind of the mid-tones of the image, and drag it up, and it's just going to brighten up a little bit. And that is only going to apply to that one clip rather than applying to the entire timeline. If you're already feeling overwhelmed with the editing and the coloring, feel free to skip past this part, but I want to show you one more thing in case you want to take it to the next level. So we're going to click over to that second dot one more time. We're going to hit Control S, and that's going to create another blank tab with nothing on it. Now we're going to go to the circle with the 4 dots around it. We're going to click on this circle here, and then we're going to come over and do this box with the circle inside of it. Now we're going to drag this circle out so it's almost the size of the whole clip. We're going to pull on this red circle here. And what this is doing is it's making it so that this box only applies to everything on the outside of your image. So I'm going to show you an extreme example of that. We're going to go to the circle with the dot inside. And if I drag this all the way down, you can see it gets disgustingly dark just on the outside. The inside still looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag down this bar underneath offset just a little bit. What this does is it adds what's called a vignette to the video, so it's a little bit darker around the outside and it brings more emphasis to Meg in the middle. Now, if you want to watch the entire ad and see everything that I added to it, from sound effects to music and graphics, I put the final ad into the lesson description so you can check it out there. But at this point, you should have pretty much a complete video. So now we're going to go to the Deliver tab, which is this rocket ship at the bottom right-hand corner. What you're going to do is drag the playhead to the far right-hand side. You're going to click your left arrow key over once. When you hit your left arrow key, what that's going to do is it's going to pull it back 1 frame or a fraction of a second. What we find is if you don't do that, in DaVinci, you get just 1/4 of a second of black at the end of your video. What we're going to do is we're going to hit O. Now, what this does is it sets an out point for your video. So the in point is at the very beginning, the out point is at the very end, and that is what it's going to export. So we're going to title it our video. We're going to go browse, and we're going to put this wherever you want it. I'll just put it in my downloads for now. And off the bat, it's going to do a custom export, which is pretty much everything that you need. It's going to be QuickTime, H.264, 1080 by 1920. We shot this in 30 frames per second on our iPhone, so that's what it's going to export to. This is going to depend on what you shot it on, but these settings should automatically be super solid. Then you're going to hit Add to Render Queue, and then you're going to hit Render All. At this point, you could take this video and you could drop it into Ads Manager, but there are a few more things that you can still do to make it better. In the bonus section of this course, we have a ton of other editing tutorials, everything from effects to transitions. And one of the things in there is how to add captions using CapCut. The reason that we did CapCut is because it's a bit more affordable than buying the studio version of DaVinci. But I'm going to really quickly show you how you would add captions using DaVinci. Okay, before we go any further, what you're going to do is you're going to hit Command S to save your video. If you're on a PC, I'm pretty sure it's Control S, and you're going to title it our video. We're going to hit save. You want to do this often when you're editing because you never know when your computer is going to die or DaVinci is going to crash. Crashes have gotten way better in the last few years. When I first started editing, it was pretty much constant, but it's still good to get in the habit of saving every few minutes. So next, I'm going to show you how to add captions inside DaVinci. This is only going to be available if you have the studio version, which is around $300 US, but it is a one-time payment and you'll have it forever. CapCut is a monthly subscription, so if you're only going to be using it for a month, that might be a more affordable option, and we do have a tutorial for adding captions in CapCut in the bonus. But if you're going to be using it long-term, I would suggest just getting DaVinci Studio, and I promise it will pay for itself just with captions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Timeline at the very top, and we're going to hit create subtitles from audio. Now we're going to drag this maximum character count way down. Even if you set it to 3 for the maximum characters, it's still just going to do 1 word per line, and we're going to hit create. Okay, let's see. So first things first, these look like hot garbage. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all of them. You're going to go to track, and you can make this whatever you want. A lot of the time I will go Montserrat, black, italic, make them a bit bigger. You want to go down to the position and you want to drag it up so that it's just below halfway. Depending on where you're posting to, you want to be thinking about safe spaces. So that means making sure that the subtitles aren't over top of the caption that's going to be at the bottom of the clip, or the heart, comment, share buttons on the right-hand side. So usually right around here is going to be your safe area. And then I'm going to select drop shadow. I'm going to move the offset just a little bit, turn down the blur. What this does is it helps you can see the text even if it's on a similar color. I'm gonna turn up the opacity, and that looks super solid right there. So let's give that another quick little watch there. Way bigger than it needs to be. We're gonna drop the size down. I'm also gonna change it to all caps. You can just decide what looks best for your brand when it comes to the font, sizing, coloring, all of that, but I think this is looking pretty solid. Okay, we have covered so much in this lesson, but those are the basics on how to create an engaging ad in the edit. Now you can really take anything that we've covered in this lesson and run with it, like adding a ton of audio, adding graphics, but these are the core elements that are going to make your video more engaging and more exciting to watch. Now, if you want to dive deeper into effects and transitions with editing, we have 10 bonus lessons at the end of this course where you can learn everything from the frame extend to the match cut, the whip transition. There is so much in there. But for now, you have everything that you need to go out and absolutely crush your first ad. So I cannot wait to see what you create, and I will see you in the next one.